The morning air bit cold against Olivia Brighton's cheeks as she stood outside the brick apartment building. Her suitcase packed and sitting by the door inside, waiting for courage she wasn't sure existed anymore. Ryan had left for work an hour ago without saying goodbye, just like he'd done every morning for the past 3 months. The silence between them had grown so thick she could barely breathe through it anymore. She pulled her phone from her coat pocket and stared at the screen, finger hovering over her best friend's number. But what would she say? That she'd finally admitted defeat. That 5 years with Ryan had worn her down to nothing. That she'd become a ghost in her own life. "You look like you're trying to decide something important." The voice came from her left, deep and steady. Olivia turned to find a man standing a few feet away, dressed in an expensive wool coat that probably cost more than her monthly rent. He had dark hair slightly tousled by the wind, and eyes that seemed to actually see her, which felt strange after years of being looked through. "I'm sorry," she managed. "I've been standing here for 5 minutes watching you stare at that phone like it holds all the answers to the universe." He took a step closer, and she noticed the way he carried himself, confident but not aggressive. "I'm Warren Ortiz. I own the coffee company across the street. Well, I own several coffee companies, but that one's my favorite." She glanced at the building he gestured toward, a sleek modern storefront with floor-to-ceiling windows. She'd walked past it hundreds of times but never went in. Ryan said their coffee was overpriced. "Olivia Brighton," she said, shaking his extended hand. His grip was warm despite the cold morning. "So, Olivia Brighton, are you going to make that call or are you going to keep torturing yourself?" Something about his directness made her laugh, a sound that felt foreign in her throat. "That obvious? I've made a few difficult calls in my life." I recognize the look. He tilted his head slightly. "Can I buy you a coffee? No pressure, but standing in the cold deliberating doesn't seem to be working for you." She should have said no. She should have gone back inside, unpacked her suitcase, and tried to make things work with Ryan one more time. But instead, she found herself nodding. The coffee shop was warm and filled with the rich scent of fresh beans. Warren led her to a corner table after ordering 2 drinks without asking what she wanted. Somehow, when the coffee arrived, it was perfect, a vanilla latte with just the right amount of foam. "How did you know?" she asked. "Lucky guess. You seem like a vanilla latte person." He sat across from her, removing his coat to reveal a crisp white shirt. "So what's the decision? What makes you think there is one?" Because people don't stand outside in 20-degree weather staring at their phones unless they're avoiding something inside. He took a sip of his black coffee. "And you had that look people get when they're about to change their whole life." Olivia wrapped her hands around the warm cup. She didn't know this man at all, but something about him made her want to talk. "I'm leaving someone, or I'm trying to. I packed my suitcase this morning, but I can't seem to actually go." "How long have you been together?" 5 years. Warren was quiet for a moment. "Does he hurt you?" "Not physically, but yes, in every other way that matters." The words came out before she could stop them. "He makes me feel small, like nothing I do is ever good enough, like I'm lucky he even stays with me." "Then why are you still there?" It was the question she'd asked herself 1,000 times. "Because 5 years is a long time. Because I keep thinking maybe it will get better. Because leaving feels like admitting failure. Staying in something that destroys you isn't success, Olivia." Warren leaned forward, his eyes intense. "It's just slow suicide." She felt tears prick her eyes and blinked them back. "I don't even know you." "No, you don't. Which is exactly why you can hear me right now. Sometimes strangers can see things clearly because they're not tangled up in the story yet." They sat in silence for a while, the sounds of the coffee shop filling the space between them. Other customers came and went. Baristas called out orders. The espresso machine hissed and gurgled. Normal life happening all around them while Olivia's world teetered on the edge of everything. "I have a guest house," Warren said finally. "On my property in Westfield. It's empty. You could stay there while you figure things out." "I can't accept that. I don't know you, you're right, so let me tell you about myself." He settled back in his chair. "I'm 32 years old. I started my first coffee shop when I was 24 with money I saved working 3 jobs through college. Now, I own 47 locations across the Northeast. I live alone in a house that's too big. I work too much. And about 6 months ago, I watched my sister stay in a relationship that was killing her spirit until she finally left. I wish someone had helped her sooner. What happened to her? She's happy now. Really happy. She moved to Vermont, opened a bookstore, met someone who actually deserves her." He pulled out his phone and showed Olivia a picture of a woman with Warren's same dark eyes, smiling broadly in front of a shop with colorful awnings. "That's Hannah. She says leaving was the hardest and best thing she ever did." Olivia looked at the photo, at the genuine joy radiating from this stranger's sister. When was the last time she'd smiled like that? "I can't just leave with a stranger," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "You can call Hannah if you want. She'll tell you I'm not a serial killer. Or you can call the police and have them do a background check. Or you can go back to that apartment and unpack your suitcase and spend another 5 years disappearing." He stood up and pulled a business card from his wallet, writing something on the back. "That's my personal number and Hannah's. Think about it. The offer stands." He left then, walking out into the cold morning without looking back, leaving Olivia sitting with a half-finished latte and a decision that suddenly felt possible. She pulled out her phone and dialed. "Hannah Ortiz," a cheerful voice answered. "Hi, you don't know me, but your brother just offered me his guest house, and I'm trying to determine if he's actually a good person, or if I'm about to make a terrible mistake." Hannah laughed, warm and genuine. "Warren called me 5 minutes ago and said you might reach out. Here's the truth. My brother is the best person I know. When I left my ex, Warren showed up at 2 in the morning with a moving truck and didn't ask a single question. He just helped me pack and get out. The guest house offer is real and it's safe. He won't bother you or expect anything. He just can't stand watching people suffer when he could help." They talked for 20 minutes. Hannah told her about Warren's work ethic, his habit of rescuing stray cats, the way he'd built his business from nothing through sheer determination. How he'd helped dozens of employees through difficult times, always quietly, never asking for credit. "He sounds too good to be true," Olivia said. "He's not perfect. He works too much. He's terrible at remembering birthdays, and he once tried to make Thanksgiving dinner and nearly burned his kitchen down. But he's good, Olivia. Genuinely good." After hanging up, Olivia sat in the coffee shop for another hour. She watched Warren through the window, talking with employees, checking orders, laughing at something a barista said. He moved with purpose, comfortable in his own skin in a way Ryan had never been. Finally, she stood, walked outside and crossed the street. The bell above the door chimed as she entered. Warren looked up from the counter. "Decision made. I need help getting my suitcase to a car." His face broke into a smile, transforming his serious features into something almost boyish. "I have a truck parked out back. Give me 5 minutes." True to his word, 5 minutes later they stood outside her apartment building. Warren waited by his truck while Olivia went inside, her heart hammering. She grabbed her suitcase from by the door, looked one last time at the apartment that had been her prison for so long, and walked out. She didn't leave a note. Ryan would figure it out. Warren took her suitcase without comment and loaded it into the truck. "You okay?" Ask me in an hour, she said, climbing into the passenger seat. The drive to Westfield took 40 minutes. Warren played soft jazz on the radio and didn't push conversation, seeming to understand she needed space to process what she'd just done. Olivia stared out the window, watching the city give way to suburbs, then to the rolling hills of the countryside. "This is me," Warren said, turning down a long driveway lined with bare trees that would probably be gorgeous in summer. The house was impressive without being ostentatious, a modern structure of glass and natural wood that seemed to grow out of the landscape. The guest house sat about 100 yards away, smaller but designed in the same style. "The guest house has everything you need," Warren said, pulling up in front of it. "Kitchen's fully stocked, there's internet and the heat works. Main house is over there if you need anything, but I won't bother you unless you reach out first." He helped her carry the suitcase inside. The space was beautiful, open and airy with high ceilings and large windows overlooking a pond, nothing like the cramped apartment she'd shared with Ryan. "Warren," she said as he turned to leave, "thank you. I don't know why you're doing this, but thank you." "Everyone deserves a safe place to land," he said simply. "Take all the time you need." After he left, Olivia stood in the middle of the guest house and cried huge racking sobs that shook her whole body. She cried for the 5 years she'd lost, for the woman she'd been before Ryan had systematically broken her down, for the fear and relief warring inside her chest. When the tears finally stopped, she felt hollow but clean, like something toxic had been purged. Her phone buzzed. "Ryan, where are you? I came home for lunch and your stuff is gone." She stared at the message. 3 months ago, she would have called him immediately, apologizing, explaining. Now she just turned off her phone. The first week passed in a strange blur. Olivia spent most of her time sleeping, her body finally catching up on years of stress-induced insomnia. She'd wake up disoriented, forgetting where she was, then remember and feel the strange mix of fear and relief all over again. Warren kept his distance but left small signs he was thinking of her. Fresh flowers appeared on the guest house porch. Containers of homemade soup showed up in the fridge, still warm. Once, she looked out the window to see him shoveling the walkway after a light snow, clearing her path without announcing himself. On the 8th day, she finally ventured over to the main house. Warren answered the door in jeans and a sweater, reading glasses perched on his nose. Behind him, she could see a massive cat lounging on a leather couch. "That's Monster," Warren said, noticing her gaze. "Rescued him from a parking lot 3 years ago. He runs the place now." "Can I make you dinner?" Olivia asked. "To say thank you." Warren's face softened. "You don't need to thank me, I know, but I want to cook. I used to love cooking before." She trailed off. "Before someone made you feel like even that wasn't good enough," Warren finished gently. She nodded. "Then I would love dinner. What time?" 7. I'll bring wine." Olivia spent the afternoon in the guest house kitchen, losing herself in the familiar rhythm of chopping, stirring, seasoning. She made pasta from scratch, something her grandmother had taught her years ago. The physical work felt good, purposeful. Warren arrived exactly at 7 with 2 bottles of wine and a bouquet of sunflowers. "These are happy flowers," he said, handing them to her. Seemed appropriate. The dinner was easy in a way Olivia hadn't experienced in years. Warren asked questions and actually listened to the answers. He told stories about building his business, the failures and successes, making her laugh with tales of his early disasters. "The first shop, I ordered 10 times too many beans because I didn't understand the wholesale numbers. I had to store them in my apartment. My entire place smelled like a coffee factory for months. What did you do with them all?" Started giving free bags to anyone who came in. Figured if they tried it and liked it, they'd come back. He poured more wine. Worked, actually. Sometimes mistakes turn into marketing. "You're really 32, Olivia asked. "You seem older, more settled." "Trauma ages you. I lost my parents when I was 19. Car accident. Suddenly I was responsible for Hannah and she was only 15. Had to grow up fast. I'm sorry." It was a long time ago, but it taught me that life's too short to waste time on things that don't matter or people who make you small. He looked at her directly. "You're not small, Olivia. Whatever he told you, it was a lie." She felt tears threaten again and blinked them back. "I don't even know who I am anymore. I spent so long trying to be what Ryan wanted that I lost myself somewhere." "Then now's your chance to figure it out. No pressure, no timeline. Just space to breathe and remember." They talked until midnight, the conversation flowing naturally between serious and silly. Warren told her about his plans to expand internationally, his love of terrible action movies, his secret talent for card tricks. Olivia found herself opening up about her childhood, her dreams of becoming a photographer that she'd abandoned, the way Ryan had slowly isolated her from friends and family. "Do they know you left?" Warren asked. "I haven't talked to my parents in 2 years. Ryan always had reasons why I shouldn't visit, why they couldn't come here. Eventually, they stopped reaching out. Maybe it's time to call them." The next morning, Olivia dialed her mother's number with shaking hands. It rang 4 times before a familiar voice answered. "Hello, Mom." "It's Olivia." There was a sharp intake of breath, then crying. "Oh my God, sweetheart, where are you? Are you okay? We've been so worried." They talked for 2 hours. Her mother cried, her father got on the phone and cried too. They tried to stay in contact, but Ryan had always intercepted, making excuses. Eventually, Olivia had stopped responding to their messages, and they'd thought she wanted nothing to do with them. "I left him," Olivia said. "I finally left. Thank God," her mother said. "When can we see you?" "Soon, I promise. I just need a little time to get myself together first." After hanging up, she felt lighter than she had in years. Warren had been right. The people who loved her had always been there, waiting. She started taking walks around Warren's property, camera in hand. He'd helped her order a decent used one online, insisting it was an early Christmas present even though Christmas was months away. The landscape was beautiful, all rolling hills and old stone walls, bare trees waiting for spring. Warren often joined her on the walks, Monster trotting behind them like a dog. They'd talk about everything and nothing, comfortable silences punctuated by easy conversation. Olivia found herself noticing things about him. The way he always held doors, how he remembered small details she mentioned in passing, the kindness he showed to everyone from delivery drivers to business partners. "You're staring," Warren said one afternoon as they sat by the pond. "Sorry. I'm just trying to figure you out." "What's the mystery? You're successful, kind, and not bad-looking. Why are you single?" Warren laughed. "Not bad-looking, I'll take it." He picked up a stone and skipped it across the water. "Honestly, I haven't met the right person. I've dated, but everyone seems more interested in what I have than who I am. Gets old fast. That must be lonely." It was. But then I threw myself into work, told myself I didn't need a relationship. Watching Hannah find real love, though, made me realize what I was missing. "What's that?" "Someone who sees me. Not the business or the money or the potential connection. Just me." He turned to look at her. "What about you? When you were with Ryan, were you happy at first?" Olivia thought back. "I don't know. Maybe I thought I was. He was charming at first, attentive. Then slowly things changed. He'd criticize little things, always disguised as trying to help me improve. My clothes, my hair, the way I laughed. By the time I realized what was happening, I was already convinced the problem was me. The problem was never you. The certainty in his voice made something warm unfold in her chest. As weeks turned into a month, Olivia felt herself coming back to life. She started taking freelance photography jobs, small things at first, local events and family portraits. Warren spread the word through his business network, and soon she had more work than she could handle. She also started spending more time with Warren, not just walks but dinners at the main house, movie nights where he'd make popcorn and they'd mock the terrible action films he loved, early mornings helping him test new coffee blends for his shops. "This one's too bitter," Olivia said, making a face. Warren laughed, scribbling notes. "That's the Brazilian roast." "Okay, too bitter. What about this one?" She tried the next sample. "Better, smoother. That's the Colombian with a hint of chocolate. I like it, but add more chocolate notes." "You're good at this," Warren said, watching her taste the next sample. "I'm just telling you what I like." "Exactly. Most people try to sound impressive, use all these fancy descriptors. You're honest." He poured her water to cleanse her palate. "I trust honest." Their eyes met across the tasting table and Olivia felt something shift. Warren felt it too. She could see it in the way his expression changed, becoming more open, more vulnerable. "Olivia," he started, then stopped. "Never mind." "What?" "Nothing. Let's try the Ethiopian blend." But something had changed. The air between them felt charged now, every accidental touch electric. Olivia found herself thinking about Warren constantly, the sound of his laugh, the way he looked at her like she mattered, how safe she felt around him. She was falling for him. The realization hit her one morning while photographing the sunrise over the pond. She'd looked back at the main house and seen Warren in the window, watching her, and her heart had done this strange flip that was unmistakable. It terrified her. She'd just escaped one relationship. She shouldn't be ready for another. But what she felt for Warren was nothing like what she'd felt for Ryan. This was warm and steady, built on genuine friendship and respect. With Ryan, there had always been an edge of anxiety, a feeling that she was one mistake away from disapproval. With Warren, she felt free to be herself. She didn't know what to do with these feelings, so she did nothing, just kept them close and tried not to let them show. Warren was fighting his own battle. He'd known he was in trouble the moment Olivia had smiled at him over that first coffee, really smiled, not the frightened, hesitant thing she'd given him initially. Every day since had only made it worse. He loved watching her come back to life, finding herself again. He loved her laugh, her creativity, the way she saw beauty in ordinary things. He loved how she'd transformed his empty house into something that felt like a home just by being near. But she'd just left a terrible relationship. She was healing. The last thing she needed was him complicating things with his feelings. So he kept his distance as much as possible while still being there for her, an impossible balance that was slowly driving him crazy. "You're in love with her," Hannah said during one of their phone calls. "I'm not," Warren lied. "Please, I can hear it in your voice. What are you waiting for?" She just left someone who treated her terribly. She needs time, space, not me pushing my feelings on her. "Warren, you're the most respectful man I know. But you're also an idiot if you think hiding how you feel is helping anyone. It's helping her. She doesn't need pressure." Has it occurred to you that she might feel the same way? It had. Late at night, Warren let himself imagine that the way Olivia looked at him meant something, that the comfortable intimacy they'd developed could become more. But in daylight, he pushed those thoughts away. She deserved time to heal. 2 months after leaving Ryan, Olivia got the call she'd been dreading. Her phone rang with a number she didn't recognize, and foolishly, she answered. "So you're just done? 5 years and you don't even have the decency to talk to me." Ryan's voice hit her like a physical blow. She'd blocked his number weeks ago, but apparently he'd figured out a workaround. I have nothing to say to you, Ryan. That's it. I gave you everything and you just leave. Where are you? I know you're not with your parents because I already checked. The fact that he'd contacted her family made her blood run cold. Don't call them again. Then come home. We can work this out. There's nothing to work out. I'm done. You'll never find anyone better than me, Olivia. You're nothing special. I stayed with you out of pity. The words would have hurt 2 months ago. Now they just made her angry. You know what, Ryan? I hope you find someone who makes you happy, but it was never going to be me, and I was never going to be happy with you. Goodbye. She hung up, blocked the new number, and realized she was shaking. Not from fear or hurt, but from anger and relief. She'd stood up to him. Finally, Warren found her 20 minutes later, sitting on the guest house porch. He'd been in the main house and seen her through the window, recognized distress in her posture. What happened? She told him about the call. Warren's jaw tightened, his hands curling into fists. Did he threaten you? No, just said terrible things. But Warren, I wasn't afraid, I was angry. That's progress, right? He sat next to her on the porch steps. That's huge progress. But if he contacts you again or shows up here, you tell me immediately. Promise. I promise. But I don't think he will. He's a coward. That's why he waited 2 months and called from a blocked number. They sat in silence for a while, shoulder to shoulder. Olivia felt the tension draining away, replaced by the steady calm Warren always brought. Can I tell you something? She asked. Anything. Before I met you, I thought I was broken. Like Ryan had damaged something essential and I'd never be whole again. But these past 2 months, I've realized I was never broken. I was just with someone who wanted me to think I was. Warren turned to look at her. You were never broken, Olivia. You were surviving. That takes incredible strength. I don't feel strong. The strongest people never do. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture so gentle it made her chest ache. You left. You rebuilt. You're thriving. That's strength. Their faces were close now, close enough that Olivia could see the flecks of gold in Warren's dark eyes, could feel his breath. She wanted to close the distance, to kiss him, but fear held her back. What if she was reading this wrong? What if she was just transferring feelings because he'd saved her? Warren pulled back slightly, and the moment broke. I should let you rest, he said, standing. But I'm here if you need anything. After he left, Olivia put her head in her hands and groaned. She was definitely in love with him, and she had no idea what to do about it. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the almost kiss, about Warren's expression before he'd pulled away. Finally, at 2 in the morning, she got up and started going through the photos she'd taken over the past 2 months. Most of them featured Warren. Warren laughing at Monster's antics. Warren concentrating on coffee samples. Warren in profile, looking out over the pond. Warren with snow in his hair, grinning like a kid. She'd been documenting her falling in love without even realizing it. The next morning, she made a decision. Life was too short to hide from happiness, especially after wasting so much time being miserable. If Warren didn't feel the same way, she'd deal with it. But she had to know. She found him in the main house kitchen, making breakfast. Monster wound around his legs, meowing dramatically. He's already been fed, Warren said, not looking up from the eggs he was scrambling. He's a con artist. Want some breakfast? Warren, can we talk? Something in her tone made him look up. Of course, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just need to say something before I lose my nerve. She took a deep breath. I'm falling for you. Actually, I think I've already fallen. I know the timing's terrible and I just got out of a bad relationship, and you've been nothing but kind and I don't want to ruin that. But I can't keep pretending these feelings don't exist. Warren just stared at her, the spatula frozen in his hand. "Please say something," Olivia whispered. He set the spatula down, turned off the stove, and crossed the kitchen to her. "I have been in love with you since that first morning when you stood outside in the cold trying to find the courage to change your life. Every day since has only made it stronger. I didn't say anything because I wanted you to have space to heal, to be sure of what you felt without any pressure from me. You love me, completely, hopelessly. The kind of love where I think about you first thing in the morning and last thing at night. Where your happiness matters more than my own. Where I'd do anything to keep you safe and make you smile." Olivia felt tears streaming down her face, but these were happy tears. "That's how I feel about you." Warren cupped her face in his hands, thumbs wiping away her tears. "Then can I kiss you? Because I've been wanting to for 2 months and it's been killing me." "Please," she breathed. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, both of them afraid to break the spell. Then Olivia wrapped her arms around his neck and Warren pulled her closer, and the kiss deepened into something that felt like coming home. It was nothing like kissing Ryan had been, all obligation and criticism. This was warmth and promise and rightness. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Warren pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you," he said. "I love you too." They stood in the kitchen holding each other while the eggs got cold and Monster complained about being ignored. Nothing had ever felt more perfect. The next few months were the happiest of Olivia's life. She moved out of the guest house and into the main house, though they took things slowly physically, both wanting to build their relationship on solid ground. They'd kiss for hours on the couch, talking between make-out sessions like teenagers, learning each other's bodies and preferences with patient exploration. Warren taught her about coffee and took her to visit his shops, proudly introducing her as his girlfriend to employees who'd never seen him so relaxed and happy. Olivia showed him how to really see through a camera lens, and he became her favorite subject. They went on proper dates, Warren insisting he wanted to court her the way she deserved. Fancy restaurants where he pulled out her chair and held her hand across the table. Art galleries where he'd listen to her explain composition and light. Hiking trips where they'd pack elaborate picnics and find secret places to make out like kids. "I never knew it could be like this," Olivia said one night as they lay tangled together on his couch, watching rain streak the windows. "Like what? Easy. Fun. Like being in love doesn't have to hurt." Warren kissed her temple. "Being in love should never hurt. It should feel like this. Like peace with excitement mixed in." "That's exactly what it is," she said, tilting her face up to kiss him properly. 6 months after leaving Ryan, Olivia got a call from her mother asking her to come visit. She and Warren drove down together, his hand in hers the whole way. Her parents opened the door and immediately pulled her into a hug so tight she could barely breathe. Her father was crying, which she'd only seen him do twice in her life. "Look at you," her mother said, holding her at arm's length. "You're glowing." "I'm happy, Mom. We can see that." Her father turned to Warren, extending his hand. "You must be Warren. Olivia's told us about you." "All good things, I hope," Warren said, shaking firmly. "She says you saved her life." "She saved her own life. I just provided a safe place to land." They spent the weekend with her parents, and Olivia watched Warren charm them effortlessly. He helped her father fix a leaky faucet, listened to her mother's stories about Olivia's childhood, and fit into her family like he'd always been there. "He's special," her mother said during a moment alone in the kitchen. "Don't let this one go." "I don't plan to." The business Warren ran continued to grow, and he started bringing Olivia to meetings and expansion discussions. Her photography skills came in handy for marketing materials, but more than that, he valued her opinion and creativity. "What do you think about Prague?" he asked one night over dinner. "For what?" our next international location. I'm trying to decide between Prague and Copenhagen." "Why not both?" Warren grinned. "I like how you think. Want to come scout locations with me next month, really?" "Of course, really. You're part of this now, part of my life. I want you with me." They traveled to Europe, mixing business with pleasure. In Prague, they walked across the Charles Bridge at dawn, kissing as the sun rose over the Vltava River. In Copenhagen, they rented bikes and got hopelessly lost, laughing the whole time. They found perfect locations for coffee shops and took 1,000 photos and fell more in love with each other every day. "Move in with me officially," Warren said one night in their hotel room in Paris, where they'd extended the trip for a few romantic days. "I know you technically already live with me, but I want it to be real. Your name on the lease, your furniture mixed with mine, all of it." "Yes," Olivia said without hesitation. "I want that too." They made love that night with the Eiffel Tower sparkling outside their window, and Olivia thought about how far she'd come from that cold morning outside Ryan's apartment. She'd been so lost then, so broken down. Now she was whole and happy and loved by a man who saw her worth. A year after they'd met, Warren took her back to the coffee shop where they'd first talked. He'd closed it for the evening, and when she walked in, the space was filled with candles and flowers. "What's all this?" she asked. Warren took her hand and led her to the same corner table where they'd sat that first morning. "This is where I met the love of my life. This is where you decided to save yourself. This is where everything changed." He got down on one knee, and Olivia's hands flew to her mouth. "Olivia Brighton, you are the strongest, kindest, most beautiful person I've ever known. You make me laugh every day. You make me want to be better. You turned my house into a home and my life into an adventure. I love you more than I knew it was possible to love someone. Will you marry me?" The ring was perfect, a simple diamond that caught the candlelight, but Olivia barely saw it through her tears. "Yes," she said, pulling him up to kiss him. "Yes, yes, yes." They got married 6 months later in Warren's backyard, overlooking the pond where they'd had so many important conversations. It was a small ceremony, just family and close friends. Hannah served as maid of honor, crying through the entire ceremony. Monster, wearing a tiny bow tie, sat in the front row with Warren's assistant holding his leash. Olivia wore a simple white dress and carried sunflowers, those happy flowers Warren had brought her so long ago. When she walked down the aisle and saw Warren waiting for her, his eyes shining with emotion, she felt overwhelmed with gratitude for that cold morning when a stranger had invited her for coffee and changed her entire life. "You look beautiful," Warren whispered when she reached him. "You look pretty good yourself." They wrote their own vows. Warren promised to always see her, to support her dreams, to make her laugh even when life got hard. Olivia promised to choose him every day, to build a life filled with love and adventure, to never stop growing together. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the officiant said. "You may kiss your bride." Warren pulled Olivia close and kissed her deeply while their guests cheered. When they broke apart, both laughing and crying, he whispered, "I love you, Mrs. Ortiz. I love you too." The reception was filled with good food, better wine, and the kind of joy that comes from watching two people who genuinely belong together celebrate their love. Warren's business partners gave embarrassing toasts about how he'd changed since meeting Olivia, becoming lighter and happier. Olivia's parents thanked Warren for helping their daughter find herself again. Hannah's toast made everyone cry. "When my brother called me that morning and said he just met someone special, I was skeptical. Warren's always been the responsible one, the careful one. But then I met Olivia and I understood. She lights him up in a way I'd never seen before, and Warren helped Olivia remember how bright she could shine. They make each other better, happier, more complete. That's what love should be. As the evening wound down and guests started leaving, Warren and Olivia slow danced under string lights, holding each other close. "Happy?" Warren asked. "Impossibly happy. Sometimes I still can't believe this is my life." "Believe it, this is just the beginning." 2 years later, Olivia stood in the renovated guest house, now her photography studio, editing photos from a recent shoot. Her business had grown beyond anything she'd imagined, specializing in portraits of abuse survivors who wanted to document their strength and renewal. It was meaningful work that fed her soul. Warren came in carrying a crying baby, their daughter Willow bouncing against his shoulder. "Someone wants her mama," he said. Olivia took Willow, who immediately stopped crying and started grabbing for her mother's hair. She was 6 months old, with Warren's dark eyes and Olivia's bright smile. "How's the editing going?" Warren asked, kissing Olivia's temple. "Good. This client is amazing. She left her husband 3 months ago and she wanted photos to remind herself how strong she is." "Like someone else I know," Warren said softly. Olivia looked up at him, at this man who'd saved her by simply offering kindness when she needed it most. "I was thinking about that morning we met. What would have happened if I'd gone back inside instead of accepting your coffee invitation?" "Don't," Warren said firmly. "Don't torture yourself with alternate timelines." "I'm not torturing myself. I'm grateful. You told me not to look back, and walking away from Ryan with you was the best decision I ever made. You made that decision yourself. I just held the door open." "You did more than that. You showed me what real love looks like, what respect and partnership and happiness could be." Willow grabbed Warren's nose, making them both laugh. Monster appeared from somewhere and jumped onto the desk, knocking over a cup of pens and looking completely unapologetic about it. "Our life is chaos," Warren said, picking up pens while holding Willow. "It's perfect chaos," Olivia corrected, putting Monster back on the floor. That night, after Willow was asleep and they'd cleaned up the kitchen and were finally alone, they sat on the porch overlooking the pond. The same pond where they'd sat so many times during those early days, navigating the complicated beginning of their relationship. "You ever miss it?" Warren asked. "Being on your own, I mean, before all this responsibility." Olivia looked at him like he was crazy. "Are you serious?" "Warren, I was never really on my own. I was trapped. Now I have a partner, a family, a life I actually want to live. I don't miss anything about before." "Well, maybe sleeping past 6 in the morning, but even that's okay because I wake up next to you." He pulled her close, kissing her hair. "I love you so much. Sometimes it still catches me off guard how much. I know the feeling. I look at Willow and think about how she'll never have to wonder if love is supposed to hurt. She'll grow up watching us be partners, watching respect and affection. That breaks the cycle, Warren. We're giving her something neither of us had. Best gift we could give her." They sat in comfortable silence, the crickets singing their evening song, the stars beginning to appear overhead. Monster came out and settled between them, purring loudly. "I got offered a book deal today," Olivia said casually. Warren sat up straight. "What? That's amazing." "Why are you just mentioning this now?" "Because I wanted to save it. Good news tastes better when you share it at the right moment." She smiled at his excited expression. "A publisher saw my survivor portrait series and wants me to do a whole book. Photos and stories from women rebuilding their lives after abuse." "Olivia, that's incredible. Are you going to do it?" "I want to, but it would be a big-time commitment, and with Willow. We'll make it work. This is important and you're talented. We'll hire more help if we need to. I can cut back hours at work. You do that in a heartbeat. Your dreams matter just as much as mine, more even." She kissed him, deep and lingering. "How did I get so lucky?" "We both got lucky." That morning I saw you standing outside looking lost. I almost didn't approach you. I was running late for a meeting and I told myself it wasn't my business. But something made me stop. Fate, maybe. Or maybe just the universe being kind for once, putting two people who needed each other in the same place at the same time. I like that better than fate. Fate implies we had no choice. But we chose this. We chose each other every single day. And I'll keep choosing you every day for the rest of my life. 5 years after that cold morning, when Warren had told her not to look back, Olivia published her book. The launch party was packed with survivors whose stories filled the pages, with Warren's employees and Olivia's family, and everyone who'd supported them along the way. Warren stood in the back with Willow on his hip, and their new baby, Oliver, asleep in a carrier against his chest. He watched Olivia give a speech about courage and rebuilding and the power of choosing yourself, and his heart felt so full it might burst. "That's your mama," he whispered to Willow. "She's the bravest person I know." After the speech, Olivia made her way through the crowd to them. She kissed both babies and then kissed Warren. "Thank you for being here," she said. "I'll always be here. That's the deal. Best deal I ever made." They went home that night to their full, chaotic, perfect life. Warren read Willow 3 bedtime stories while Olivia fed Oliver. Then they collapsed on the couch together, exhausted but content. "Remember when this house felt too big?" Warren asked, monster draped across his lap. "Now it feels too small," Olivia laughed, looking at the toys scattered everywhere, the photos covering every wall, the signs of life lived fully. "We could get a bigger place." "No, I love this house. This is where I learned to be happy again. This is where we built our family. I never want to leave." "Then we'll never leave. We'll just keep filling it with love and chaos and whatever else life brings." "Sounds perfect to me." Years continued to pass, marked by milestones and ordinary moments that made up a life. Willow started school. Oliver learned to walk. Warren opened his 100th location. Olivia published 2 more books. They took family vacations to places they'd scouted together, building memories with their children. They navigated hard times too, sick kids and business setbacks and all the challenges life threw at them, but they handled it together always. On their 10th wedding anniversary, they went back to the coffee shop where they'd met. Warren had kept it exactly the same, refusing to renovate or modernize, saying it was perfect the way it was. They sat at the same corner table with lattes, older now but no less in love. 10 years, Olivia said, shaking her head. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday, sometimes like forever. Good forever or bad forever, the best forever. The kind where I can't remember what life was like before you and I don't want to." Warren reached across the table and took her hand. "I would do it all again. Every single moment, even the hard parts because they led us here." "Me too. Warren, thank you for stopping that morning. Thank you for offering coffee to a stranger. Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Thank you for accepting. Thank you for being brave enough to choose something different. Thank you for loving me and building this life with me." They kissed across the table, just like they had 1,000 times before, and it still felt like magic. Outside, life moved on. People rushed past chasing their own stories, their own dreams and heartbreaks and moments of decision. Inside the coffee shop, 2 people who'd found each other at exactly the right time sat together in perfect contentment. Proof that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is accept kindness from a stranger and trust that not looking back might lead to everything you'd been searching for all along. Olivia thought about that morning often, how terrified she'd been, how lost. She thought about Warren's words, the simple instruction that had changed everything. Don't look back. She'd walked away from Ryan with a stranger's steady hand guiding her, and she'd never regretted it for a single second. because looking forward, walking toward Warren and the life they'd built together, had led her home. And that was the greatest gift of all.